Nothing worthwhile. Mediocre podcasting. Today, tomorrow, forever.
First, he demolished the supreme player in the most brutal sport in the world. Then, he crushed the competition in a contest nobody plays for kicks. Now, what's the problem? He faces a new challenge, only this time there are no rules. And nobody's playing games.
Detective Burke, we want to send you undercover into Harrison as a prisoner.
Van Damme is Burke.
You're not going to last too long. It's not a threat. It's a promise.
He's got the toughest job a cop can do.
Prisoners hate cops more than anything else.
It's a hit list.
You're a dead man.
His cover has been blown.
What are you doing in my prison? It's too late.
Your number's next on the list.
And the odds are impossible.
Welcome to hell!
Van Damme, he loves a good fight. Death Warrant.
Live from the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network studios, It's Nothing Worthwhile presents Van Dammit, a podcast about Jean-Claude Van Damme. Here's Evan Moody and Andrew Gruthius.
Yes, the dulcet tones of Craig Thomas, Bring Me a Dream, fresh off of our 2-week Wrestlemania hiatus. Hiatus! We are back with a fresh podcast on today's show, Nothing Worthwhile Comedy Legend Dead. We're going to span the universe for our latest news on our favorite 80s action stars. And if that isn't enough, we are taking a look at our next Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It was a Ryan Rebalkin request, 1990s Death Warrant. In Bloodsport and Kickboxer, he won it all. Now there are no rules, no escape, and nobody's playing games. It's another award-winning episode of Nothing Worthwhile Presents Van Dammit, a podcast about Jean-Claude Van Damme. A good Noxu cow to you all, and let's bring him right in. My best friend, my partner in crime, Andrew Gruthius on the East Coast. Coral Springs, Florida. Groo, how are you on this Wednesday evening taping?
Bring me a dream, Evan. That's all I can say. Bring me a dream.
I don't know how to respond to that.
I love this song. This is great. I'm doing well. How are you? Everything's fine.
Doing good. I'm kind of itching to get back on the old podcast train. We took 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Fresh from WrestleMania, you want to give everyone a quick summation? Just any final thoughts? You've had 2 weeks. WrestleMania, any final thoughts before we put that in the back burner and move on?
Well, what can I say? I mean, I think that everything that's happened since, we've been texting back and forth a little bit. I've been enjoying the hell out of more Raw than SmackDown, but I've been really enjoying just about everything that I've been seeing on Raw, and I'd say about a good 60% of what I'm seeing on SmackDown, and they got a lot of interest in, at least from me, going into WrestleMania Backlash.
That internet wrestling,
which I believe it's this Sunday, right?
Lord.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I just found out the NFL draft is tomorrow. I'm scrambling to make plans for that.
We're a little far behind.
The internet wrestling community will never be happy with the WWE, but I am very skeptical. And actually, I did watch most of last Monday Night Raw, and I agree. I enjoyed a large majority of the show, and it's nice to see Raw a little bit outpace SmackDown. I mean, SmackDown's been the preeminent wrestling show for a while now, and Raw. And I am kind of digging this very goofy Ezekiel. I mean, I don't know. It's completely stupid, but it makes me laugh.
I see a lot of talent there, and I'm interested to see where it goes. It's sometimes they got to go with something off the wall just to gain a little bit of attention, and they certainly got mine. He definitely looks like he can go. Like he's that dude is big.
He's really jacked. And
yeah.
He's got, you're in good shape when you have the Ultimate Warrior biceps.
Yeah, you got the tassels, yeah. I mean, coming off of WrestleMania, look, we had a great time. It was a really good show, as far as these shows go lately. And since then, I feel like it got me really back into it, like hard. Like I'm really looking forward to SmackDown on Friday. I'm looking forward to I don't know. Am I going in the wrong direction here?
No, you're not. I listened to a couple of other podcasts because we took a long weekend to California last weekend, and I listened to a couple of WrestleMania reviews, and I'll be honest with you, I thought we were just as good as. I'm really being honest. I listened to The Ringer and that Going in Raw podcast.
Yeah,
they're not bad. I thought we did at least just as good job, if not better. Ironically enough, we'll be planning to go out to LA. I missed Chris Burnett. Chris Burnett was actually in Arizona last weekend, but I flew out to California for a long weekend.
Yeah,
so,
our old buddy Chris.
So we'll see Chris in LA next year for WrestleMania.
Hopefully, that is the plan. We already booked it. We already booked it.
I think the last thing I would say is WrestleMania Dallas. I think 38. Was it an all-time classic? I don't think so, but all-time entertaining. I mean, yes, that I will definitely say.
If you're even asking that question, that means it was a really good show.
I agree. I agree. Andrew, last month was a very special episode of Van Dammit as we took a 1-month vacation from the muscles from Brussels and looked at Lord Stevens' 1994 green action movie On Deadly Ground. Groo, interesting time for Seagal. Interesting choice for a movie. Did it work? Andrew Gruthius, any final thoughts on the Master of Aikido's On Deadly Ground?
Well, I mean, our thoughts about the movie are in the show. I really enjoyed. I enjoy doing all these kinds of things. I enjoy these deep dives into movies like that, even ones that are not good. And I'm still a big Steven Seagal fan. At least a certain era of Steven Seagal, but I think you could say that about most people.
Agreed.
And I really enjoyed. It was a nice little hiatus, but I got to tell you, I am excited to talk about. What we're going back to JCVD today. I'm definitely excited to talk about Death Warrant, but yeah, On Deadly Ground was fun. It was a fun revisit because I only saw that movie once. And it was, on the show I said that even though I still acknowledge that it's not a good movie, I enjoyed it from a different perspective so many years later. So I'm glad we did it.
I just love at the end, he kills like 30 people and he's like at the House of Representatives giving an impassioned plea about ozone layer and just kills
apparently melted human skin cures the ozone.
He's standing next to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going, in our new Green Deal, we're proposing the following. And meanwhile, it has like 50 deaths just rung up, 2 weeks early. He's got a suit and tie. And he's in the house. So it certainly was a fun revisit. I think, not to take us off topic, I was listening to your comments. I mean, is he so underground with these movies? Like, even when we talk on sort of, I read from afar on our Facebook Messenger last of the Action Hero podcast feed. I mean, is it incredible that he's really not been fully canceled? I mean, I read where somebody was saying it's unbelievable that this guy is kind of still, I'm not saying going strong, but he's sort of built this underground cultish following of bad to not bad action movies that go straight to VOD. I mean, I don't know. You read a lot about him that seems kind of noxious. I'm not making a case for it or against it. I'm just wanted your opinion.
All right. Well, it's tough to say this without sounding disrespectful to Steven Seagal, but
can I guess what you're going to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you trying to say he's really not a factor per se in pop culture?
Yeah, he's really not. I mean, he's sort of uncancelable in that the stuff that he does, appeals to a market that doesn't even know what cancel culture is and doesn't give a shit. They're gonna go. They're gonna go and click a button, pay $4.99 or whatever it costs to watch Steven Seagal do whatever Steven Seagal does these days, which I find unwatchable. I'm a fan of Steven Seagal in an era, in that first era. All right, the phase one of Steven Seagal. So I can't cancel what he's not. He doesn't even live here. I think he lives in Russia. Whatever. He's not someone. It's like trying to cancel you or me. I mean, the worst that would happen is that we'd lose our.
Please don't put that bad karma out there.
All right,
tomorrow.
I'm saying, more people probably care about us than care about him.
That's a good.
From that perspective.
I think that's a good thing. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Non-factor, unfortunately.
All right. Well, Groo, a guy that was a factor for many years, a nothing worthwhile favorite, passed away last week. 67-year-old comedian Gilbert Gottfried, Groo, passed away last Tuesday, courtesy of the Kansas City Star. Comedian Gilbert Gottfried died after a long illness. He was called the most iconic voice in comedy. The Gottfried family, Groo, announced his death on Tuesday, April 12th. Gilbert, who was known mostly for his stand-up work and his shrill voice, had died after a long illness. His family formally announced on Tuesday, April 12th. Again, as I said, he was 67. The statement goes on to say he died from recurrent ventricular tachycardia due to myotonic dystrophy, which I believe is a form of muscular dystrophy. His publicist told People.com his iconic voice was used in Aladdin, in which he voiced Iago the parrot. He was also the voice of the Affleck duck until 2011, after he made a joke about the Japanese tsunami. Appeared in many of the Comedy Central roasts, as Andy and I have talked off air. Gottfried was also a fixture on the Howard Stern Show and made regular appearances on Hollywood Squares. More recently, Groo, he hosted Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast. You don't just laugh at the punchline when Gilbert Gottfried tells a joke. Jason Alexander of Seinfeld was quoted. You laugh at the setup. You laugh at his comments about the joke. You even laugh at the segues between the jokes. Jason Alexander of Seinfeld also said, Gilbert Gottfried made me laugh at times when laughter did not come easily. What a gift. I did not know him well, but I loved what he shared with me. My best wishes and sympathy to his family. Groo, you were a fan. We were both fans. Gilbert Gottfried, dead at the age of 67.
Yeah, another real bummer. It's been a tough one for comedians lately, especially in that age range. I'm proud to say that I've been a fan of Gilbert since really the beginning. I laughed at him, coming off of Saturday Night Live. I remember he was in that first Eddie Murphy year, but also his bit parts in movies like even Problem Child. Even you remember that I remember him Beverly Hills Cop 2, stealing a scene from Eddie Murphy. That's not an easy thing to do, and I think Gilbert Gottfried, he's the kind of guy whose comedy gets funnier with age. And he'll go down in history as one of the all-time greats in like the Andy Kaufman wing of the Comedy Hall of Fame. That's kind of how I see Gilbert Gottfried. I'm proud to say I got to see him live one time in California, and
awesome.
it was as cringeworthy as it was funny, if you know what I mean. Because there were some...
Well, I mean, Gilbert was notorious for crossing that line unapologetically many times.
Yes, and it was, but it was that's why I say Andy Kaufman, because it was like whatever it was almost like whatever reaction he got is what he got, and he never walked away from it. He never broke from his mold, and he really invented the style that really belongs to him. I mean, there is only one Gilbert Gottfried, and there's nobody like him, and there never will be. So God bless him. I'll miss that guy, man. He was fucking funny. God.
I mean, you know him a lot more from movies and television, obviously, as a big Howard Stern fan in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. I mean, I was just listening to you. So many classic moments on the Stern Show. Goo for You with Beetlejuice. Amy Heckerling's assistant called in. She was like a Jewish lady, and Gilbert, who was a Jew, was making all sorts of Jew jokes as she picked them up. Dracula Gottfried, Rabbi Gottfried, Artie riffing on the news. Just so many classic
Jerry
moments.
Seinfeld, his Seinfeld.
Yeah. Yes, a big time fan, and it's another one. And you know, when these guys seem to go, you're not really sure, at least now, if you're going to see that kind of take no hold barred, kind of comedy that Gilbert was known for.
No, I mean, I think you and I on this Nothing Worthwhile podcast should do the proper Gilbert Gottfried tribute show that should have been. No, I won't say it.
Okay, fine. Fine. We will do so. We will do so. I mean, obviously, Andy's referring to, we had discussions, we texted with friends. Howard Stern did a very middle-of-the-road milquetoast, send-off, and a lot of people, including myself and Groo, felt Gilbert deserved a lot better. Gilbert had not been on the Stern Show for the past 11 years. Was never given a reason why. I'm not going to speculate here as to why he wasn't on the show. And then, of course, in true Howard style, on Howard 101, they played Gilbert Gottfried themed broadcasting for that weekend. So I kind of felt like Howard didn't have this guy on yet, then profited by putting his material on one of his, on 101. But all right, well, we said what we needed to say to those people. I felt Gilbert deserved better, but sure, I think we could certainly do that.
That'd be fun.
I think Gilbert is worthy of a Nothing Worthwhile podcast. All right, Groo.
Sorry, Gilbert, if you were insulted by that, but
yeah. Well, actually, Groo, before we receive a death warrant, so to speak, let's check out the latest news on our favorite 80s era action stars. It's time for Van Dammit, spanning the universe.
Van Dammit, spanning the universe.
Groo Spanning the Universe is brought to you by New You Life Center. Begin a new you. Check out all of their medical weight loss programs at www.newyoulifecenters.com or give them a call at 602-274-0068. Tell them that Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. New You Life Center. We're in this journey together. A big Van Dammit thank you to New You Life Center. Talking about Van Dammit, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dateline April 8th from the Brussels Times. Jean-Claude Van Damme is the new Democratic Republic of Congo ambassador. Jean-Claude has been given a mission to promote the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, internationally. He is set to use his fame and notoriety to advance Congolese sports and culture, but above all else, enhance the protection of forests as well as local fauna and flora. Of course, how to use that advanced vocabulary words. Deputy Foreign Minister Sami Adubango presented the Belgian actor with the passport on behalf of President Felix Tshisekedi. The DRC wants to put climate on the heart of discussions with international partners and present solutions to global warming. Not only will the Belgian actor hone in on climate, he will also be responsible for attracting fellow celebrities that the Democratic Republic of Congo is a safe country. I will try to convince Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Jackie Chan, and many others. There are singers like Jennifer Lopez, footballers like Messi, Ronaldo. They have to come to this country to show that there is security, showing that Congo can protect showbiz actors. Jean-Claude told franceinfo.com. Jean-Claude has stated, Groo, that this mission is on a voluntary basis and he would not be paid. Jean-Claude has previously met with the president of the DRC in 2021. Since his political appointment, in a related note, gas prices in the DRC have increased 33%. That's a joke. Sorry. Anyway. All right. Well, Groo, future politician, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Is he threatening us here? Is he saying, see my fucking movies, otherwise I'm going to get into politics? What?
No, it's like an ambassador. You know, he's trying to get people to come to the DRC, show them that it's safe. You know, and I mean, obviously they want it from the article. It was like a press release almost that, you know, they're going to advance a, you know, climate friendly agenda, but he also wants to open up the DRC to celebrities. You know, it's safe here. Come visit, promote your movies. You know, promote your projects.
Whoever said it wasn't safe?
I don't know. I mean, are you going to the Republic of Congo anytime soon? Or?
I got no problem with that. Somebody buys me a plane ticket, I'll go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Royal Rumble is going to be at the Democratic Republic of Congo.
I'm in. You know, we would consider it.
The sad part is, yes, I would.
This sounds like a nice retirement career for him, if that's what it is. I guess you know, you gotta hand it to a guy. He could sit around in his fortune and just do nothing and enjoy life, but I'm guessing he wants to do some good, and you cannot fault him for that. So good for him, and I truly respect it. Go for it.
Okay, good.
I hope that it doesn't. I honestly, and I mean this, I hope that it doesn't doesn't do the Schwarzenegger thing where he became governor and did not, and was. I mean, I didn't expect him to make movies when he was governor, but you know, I was kind of bummed because that was 10 years of, like, you know, prime Schwarzenegger. We kind of, you know,
was that really prime? Was that? It
was more prime than we have right now. So, you know, that was he was still coming, you know, he was still
that was post T3, which we liked.
Yes. But, you know, and he was doing some decent stuff there. I think like Eraser.
He was already a little long in the tooth back then.
But either way, I'm hoping that Van Damme isn't giving up on movies.
But I mean, I think we did an item, our last Van Damme podcast, where they're planning perhaps for his big retirement movie, which was rumored to be like a greatest hits of villains and this sort of thing. So, listen, I agree. I have nothing more to add. He's doing good for him. Groo, let's move on to Sly Stallone. A big thank you to MovieWeb.com. Last Tuesday, there was an article stating that Sylvester Stallone names the most memorable moment of his career. Groo, Stallone has had more than 50 years in the movie industry, but one moment of his career stands out. Sylvester Stallone stated that when looking back on his more than 5 decades of movies, there is one moment of film that stands out more than the rest. Sharing on his Instagram account, Stallone made the surprise revelation that working on Rocky Balboa,
I knew
the sixth movie of the Rocky franchise, is the highlight of his career. Of course, Groo goes,
no, I saw the post that you're talking about.
Right. Richard Lewis, frankly.
That's good.
Considering Rocky V was not received with the same exuberance, Rocky Balboa's arrival was more than a decade later. It was considered a risk, and it was a triumph that saw an underdog come through in a big way. Stallone posted and wrote the following. I love the sixth installment. It was the toughest challenge I ever had. It took over 12 years to make it happen. No one wanted to make it. Absolutely no one. It was considered a joke, but in my heart, I loved the idea and thought if I'm going to go out, I want to go out making this movie. Even though no one involved with the other previous productions wanted anything to do with it. And finally, I made it against all odds. When people ask what is your most memorable film moment, it's Rocky Balboa without a doubt. This was the ultimate challenge. The first Rocky, of course, was amazing, but this one was an almost impossible dream. I pushed that boulder uphill for 12 long years against overwhelming negativity until it finally happened, almost happened by accident. Someday I'll tell the whole story. The irony is if Rocky Balboa was never done, the story of Creed would have never been made. So my thanks to MGM. Keep on punching. Drew, Rocky VI, the greatest moment of Stallone's career, says Sly Stallone.
Yeah, well, look, you know how we know how we feel about Rocky Balboa. We did a podcast on it. Love it. But I do remember, because you know, I'm a massive Rocky fan, probably more than you. As far as like, no, as far as like, I'll sit there and like Google Rocky like 10 times a day to find out if there's any news. You know, I saw the Rocky Broadway show. Yeah. But I remember,
But wait. But Moody didn't see it. But I did see Rocky VI.
Yeah. But Rocky V sucked.
I didn't see Rocky versus Drago in the theater. All right, let's go.
But I do remember, reading constantly about not so much from Stallone, but from like the trades, like and the news, like. It's almost like we've been hearing about Beverly Hills Cop 4 for the last 15 years. That was what it was like. And I actually, a quickie story. I was in Los Angeles in 2003. I lived there at the time, and I remember I was in this Italian restaurant and I was having dinner, and I saw Burt Young. This was 2003, I think 3 years before Rocky Balboa actually came out. And I saw Burt Young, and I, like an asshole fan, I just said, I said, "Hey, Burt, are you going to do it? You're going to do Rocky VI? He's like, they're trying. And then he walked out and probably said, "You fucking asshole." But either way, I remember the struggle that they were, that went from different companies, whatever. But the result was, I can understand why that would be such a special moment for him, because I do remember, because his career was kind of in the crapper, right?
Crapper.
Yeah. Crapper, yeah. It was not.
I'm just stuck on picturing you like in an Italian restaurant in L.A., hair slicked back, suit,
yeah,
bib,
the bib, yeah, bib, a bib, yeah,
linguine and clam sauce, and he's like, "Hey, Bert, come here,
come here, have a seat, sit down. Yeah, Margie over here."
So Rocky V proceeded, obviously. What was like the next one or two Stallone projects prior to Balboa, just to give me a feel?
It was
maybe how low he was.
I know exactly what it was. It was the ICU. It was also known as like Detox. It was
I don't even know
straight to video. It was a straight to video. He did a movie called Avenging Angelo.
I'm aware of that.
Which is another straight to video. It was with Anthony Quinn, like the last movie I think he made before he passed away. And then I think a couple of like cameos. I think he did like a cameo on the TV show Las Vegas with James Caan. I think he was, I don't know I think Spy Kids was before Rocky Balboa, but he was like the bad guy in Spy Kids.
Kids movie.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where he was at that time. His stock was not, if he had his 85 stock, he would have been able to make Rocky Balboa for $150 million.
We've already obviously broke down Rocky Balboa, but I'll end with this. When I left the theater after watching Rocky Balboa, it felt like eating had a great restaurant. Like I was so satisfied as a moviegoer. I remember just walking out there being very, very satisfied with Rocky Balboa, and that's all I'll say about that.
Yep.
So interesting. Group. Well, let's go to Arnold Schwarzenegger, courtesy of what's on Netflix.com. Arnie will also star in his very first scripted television series that's thought to be called UTAP, but also has been referred to FUBAR. Groo, Schwarzenegger will be appearing in his first major Netflix project and his first major TV project. This continues his relationship with Skydance, having previously reprised his role as the T-800 in Terminator Genesis and Terminator Dark Fate. 8 episodes will make up the first season. We don't need to go over that. Phil Abraham, no one really cares. The series is based on, now I've seen they actually quote this and others not, but I'll go with this for now. The series is based on True Lies, the 1994 action comedy movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger appeared alongside Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Arnold, Bill Paxton, Art Malik, and one of my favorites, Tia Carrere. Yummy.
Not Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie. Yeah. Oh, I said Jamie Lee.
You did?
Tia Carrere. Yeah, Jamie Lee, Tom, Bill Paxton, Art Malik, and Tia Carrere. The series is described grew as a global spy adventure. A father and daughter have been both working as CIA operatives for years, but each kept their involvement in the CIA hidden from each other, resulting in their entire relationship being one gigantic lie. Upon learning of each other's explosive action and espionage, they learn who they really are. They're forced to work together as partners. Announced extremely early, we still only have Arnold Schwarzenegger and actress Monica Barbaro listed as the only 2 cast members. The roles are still currently unnamed, but the pair will portray a father and daughter dynamic. Speaking at the Arnold Sports Festival, Arnold said he would be soon jetting up to Vancouver and filming his scripted series. Quote, I'm always interested in doing different things. As of January 2022, the series is currently in pre-production. Groo, UTAP, FUBAR, whatever they call it. Arnold Schwarzenegger apparently heading to scripted television and Netflix.
You had me at Arnold. I'll watch anything this guy does. I mean, to me, he, like, the people we're talking about, like him and Stallone, are 2 guys who are just 2 of the biggest movie stars who will ever live, and they could do whatever.
Coming out the box strong.
Yeah, whatever they do, I'm in. And I'll be fascinated to see what Schwarzenegger does with this, especially if it's loosely based on True Lies, which has always they've always been teasing like a sequel kind of thing to that. So I'll be absolutely interested in that. You're gonna hate me for saying this, but I'm a little disappointed because I thought or heard a rumor that they were working on another Terminator thing, and I will always have room in my heart for that.
Hold on. Now, if you go back and listen to Dark Fate, you said, quote, the franchise is dead.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. And I almost want to say, I think you said no more. I know for a fact you said it's dead. Actually, that's a really good podcast. This is before we kind of got into our flow. We were still in like the experimental phase of our podcast, but
the YouTube phase.
You it was you said it was budget wise a failure, and you said that you thought it was dead.
Did I mean dead as in it's dead because people aren't going to see it, or it's creatively dead and they should just let it die? I thought maybe even a little bit of both, if not number 2. Maybe.
I mean, do you really? All right. Beyond nostalgia, do you want to see a 70-year-old now, Arnie, as a Terminator?
There's just something.
If you said to me something where they continue, I'm all for the universe and maybe an offshoot, and maybe you get a little cameo or something. I just don't know if I want to see Arnie as, like an 80-year-old Terminator now. I just don't know.
I hear you, and part of me agrees with you, but I feel like that franchise has been given. It's been put in the wrong people's hands.
Well,
and I feel like there is one great thing left there, that I was hoping that would be Dark Fate, and of course it wasn't. And I still hold out hope that they'll have a rabbit in that hat.
Yeah, listen, I've been saying the same thing about Billy Joel. It's been 40 years.
I know.
Fat
I know.
bastard. Oh, sorry.
Actually, looks good these days.
You skinny bastard.
Yeah.
The
bald bastard.
Spin-off of True Lies. To me, if they don't have Tom Arnold, I
agree with that. Okay? Yes, I was going to say.
Way, he's another guy. He's I do think he's personally kind of a vomit, but I want to see him. I'll see him an older. An older Tom Arnold and an older Arnie together on the screen.
Yeah,
I think they.
I love Tom Arnold. I think Tom Arnold's hilarious.
By the way, I am a fan of True Lies. Loved it.
Me too.
And so I am interested to see Netflix, but they put out a lot of stinkers as of late, and so I'm going to be cautiously optimistic with this one. Cautiously optimistic. Their stock has taken a bit of a tumble. They're trying to crack down on password sharing and all sorts of stuff that's gotten a little bit of a negative undertone. But nonetheless, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll say I'm cautiously optimistic.
The only thing we really have is nothing worthwhile.
That's right. Yeah, come on. Netflix, pick us up, bastards.
Yeah.
There's no production costs.
Damn right. There you go.
We could honestly give everyone, we would give 30 minutes of great content a week. Honestly.
Damn right we would.
I'm confident. Don't give us a topic. Just let us talk.
Yeah.
We'll have great content. Well, Groo, this is the last item. It's not like really a great one. I'll go through it. But Bruce Willis, courtesy of sci-fi.com, Michael Bay on Bruce Willis, quote, "There are certain people that are movie stars. He was one of them." Groo, Michael Bay has worked with a lot of movie stars over the course of a feature film career that spans now nearly 30 years. And billions of dollars in box office. He's worked with everyone from Jake Gyllenhaal to Mark Wahlberg to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Still, that doesn't mean he was always the most confident guy when working with some of the biggest names in the business. In a wide-ranging interview last week with Entertainment Weekly, the Ambulance director, which is in theaters now with Jake Gyllenhaal, was asked to reflect on his time with one of the biggest names in his filmography, Bruce Willis, who starred in Bay's third feature film, Armageddon. Though Bay had already had Bad Boys and The Rock under his belt, he wasn't yet a household name, like he was after the Transformer films. And Bruce Willis was, Bruce Willis. Of course, Groo, we know that Bruce Willis recently announced his retirement from acting due to aphasia diagnosis, leading all of Hollywood to reflect on their time working with Bruce. Michael Bay had to say this about working with Bruce. Quote, "Bruce was tough at the beginning of Armageddon. There was a point where Jerry Bruckheimer sat me down and said to me, 'You got to show him some scenes.' So I did." And Bruce goes, "Wow, you should have shown that to me earlier. And ever since then, we got along. But you got to understand from an actor's point of view, you're putting yourself out there, and it's a very scary thing when you don't think that the director might have your back." Bay continued, "I loved working with him. I thought he was a stunt mogul, but apparently that wasn't his thing. I was like, what? I saw you in Die Hard. He was amazing in Die Hard, but apparently that was the stunt man. I love Bruce because he was funny. He would do improv. There are certain people that are movie stars. He was one of them." Groo, in terms of Michael Bay is now 57 years old. He has no plans to retire at this moment. He's made 15 feature films since 1995, from mid-budget action movies to CGI-laden blockbusters. And he's definitely got a few more under his belt. Groo, Michael Bay stating that Bruce Willis was indeed a tried-and-true movie star.
I'm not enjoying all these people talking about Bruce Willis like he's dead. It's bumming me out. I'm actually hoping that this is a temporary thing.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But it's.
I think aphasia is
degenerative,
is like similar to like the dementia. I don't want to put something. These days, I'm not. I haven't looked it up, but I know it's definitely cognitive related. And I'm not saying it's a death sentence by any means, but I don't think this is something that I think you might be able to hold off symptoms, but I don't know if it's one of those things you can improve upon. My guess would be, and it's completely unscientific, is that
he's done.
Yeah, maybe you'll see him for a cameo, maybe, but no, I don't think you're going to see much of Bruce anymore.
And it's so Armageddon's a great movie. It's ridiculous, and I love it. It's one of those, and Bruce is a movie star, always will be. And it's interesting that he became such a movie star. That's the salute. He came. Guys usually had a lot of trouble making that jump from TV to movies, and he did it just about seamlessly. He didn't really have much of a struggle in the beginning. Became a movie star very quickly. And interestingly enough, one day, somewhere, I don't remember where,
happened?
I was really
food. I was eating Italian food.
I was really bored. I was really bored, like ridiculously bored, and I made a list of.
Oh boy!
I made a list. I wanted to see the actor or actress whose movies I have seen the most in the theater. I wanted to see who are the ones that bring me into the theater more than anybody else.
You remember all this shit?
I thought about it, and the top three in order were Bruce Willis, number one, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Second was Sylvester Stallone. And third was Robin Williams. But actually, Bruce Willis was number one.
Believe it or not, my first two were the same, but number three was Jenna Jameson.
I remember that. I remember that theater in Oceanside. I remember that theater in Oceanside.
This is probably a bad joke, but you have really, really good long-term memory, so you clearly don't have aphasia.
Too soon.
Remember,
too soon. That was like Gilbert. That was like Gilbert's 9/11 joke.
So he's gonna be get off the air. He's gonna be like, "That aphasia."
You're absolutely right.
Really quick, just don't belabor the point. Give us everyone here. What do you think about Michael Bay?
Michael Bay, he's got some great stuff and he's got some awful stuff. Just like most big time guys, his I would say at his best is like Armageddon, The Rock. I think he's The Rock. And at his worst, I would say any of the Transformers. And that's about it.
Well, the first Transformers was great. I actually love the first Transformers film. About Armageddon, I've always said this. Completely ridiculous, but they sold it.
Yep.
And that's why I bought into it. Groo talks about sometimes a little wink and a little nod. I don't like that. You want to sell me on a crazy science fiction movie? You play it for real.
Play it straight. Yep.
Yeah, well, play it straight, and I bought into it. So yes, listen, Michael Bay's films sort of fall into some of the, a lot of explosions and dirt, but yes, I'm not a Bay basher. There's some I do enjoy. I have enjoyed some of his films, and some of his films I have not. So agreed. All right, Groo, let's wrap it up with the final item about Dolph Lundgren. Action movie legend Dolph Lundgren and Zombieland double tap actor Luke Wilson are both set to star in an upcoming action film, Best Man, along with Scout Taylor Compton. The film is being directed by Shane Dax Taylor, who previously directed Lundgren and Acceleration with Danny Trejo. Okay, we don't need to go over who's all right. Best Man is set on a remote island amid a wedding where mercenaries take control of the property. The hostile invasion leads the groom, the best man and their best friend on a journey to defeat the terrorists and save the hostages. Lundgren most recently appeared on box office hits Aquaman, Creed 2, and will next be seen in The Expendables 4 with Sylvester Stallone. Let's see here. Luke Wilson is set to star in the Netflix original Plus Minus and recently appeared in Gasoline Alley alongside Bruce Willis and Devin Sawa. Compton starred in both Rob Zombie Halloween films and next will star in the science fiction film Chariot with John Malkovich. Groo, sounds like another major release for Dolph Lundgren. We could joke around about it, but it sounds like another big film for him.
I don't think that's another big. I think that's along the lines of like the the
Luke
VODs.
Wilson? That's
the thing. Luke Wilson is not.
Or was he? Was he a big name?
Was like I was gonna say Lundgren's probably loving life. He's loving that he's getting so much work now. After Creed 2 and the Expendables, sort of brought him back, and now he's getting constant work. Poor Luke Wilson though, because he was headlining, those big R-rated comedies in the early 2000s, Old School, and he did a Rob Reiner movie, he was on top for a year or two, and I guess maybe his brother kind of eclipsed him, but where's he been? He's been doing stuff, but it's been stuff like this that guys like us never hear of. So it's kind of a bummer for him, but look. These actors will tell you work is work, and if you get paid to do it, whether it's in the $2.99 bin at the local car wash or it's in 6 out of 12 multiplexes, either way, work is work. So,
that's what I've been telling you. That's what Jenna Jameson.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, Luke Wilson, why don't you go be in another Wes Anderson film?
Well, that's interesting you say that because...
Come on, I'm trying here. Can you work with me a little bit? I'm setting you up with great one-liners.
Well, I mean, you make the problem is you make a good point because Wes Anderson, don't forget me, the snob here, I worked with Wes Anderson twice. And both of those times... Owen Wilson was in it, but Luke wasn't.
Oh, okay.
So it's almost like it seems like Luke was part of that troupe for a while, but now it's all Owen. So it's kind of a bummer for Luke Wilson. I think.
Hearing this, if you could please allow me this, I want to apologize publicly to Wes Anderson, and please don't make a mockery of this apology. It was wrong for me to be in the hot tub with Jessica Hahn and
You know what? That joke from the Howard Stern show has gotten more mileage than from one thing one day than anything that show has put out in the last 10 years.
Out of the box strong.
Yes.
I agree. All right, Groo. Death Warrant is a 1990 American prisoner action film directed by Darren Sarafian and produced by Mark D. Sally. The film was written by David S. Goyer, and I've heard of David Goyer.
It's me too.
While he was a student at USC. It was Goyer's first screenplay to be sold and produced commercially. Groo, today's Van Dammit podcast, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Death Warrant, is brought to you by New You Life Center. Spread the love. Follow New You Life Center on Instagram and take advantage of their specials and monthly giveaways. Hey, let's start your journey. Check out all of their programs at www.newyouLifeCenters.com. Whether it's medical weight loss, hormone balancing, medical aesthetics, cosmetic injectables, and laser treatments, give them a call, 602-274-0068. Tell them that Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. New You Life Center.
Hey now.
Big Van Dammit, thank you to New You Life Center. Groo, did you know that the original movie was written, filmed as Dusted by Cannon Pictures, who financed the picture? During post-production, Cannon Films went belly up, and MGM, who took over the remaining pictures, renamed the film Death Warrant. The film was delayed pending a decision over whether Canon Films or MGM United Artists should distribute. However, the old Australian VHS tape came with the Canon logo at the start, and some international trailers credit Canon as the studio behind this picture. Fascinating trivia, Andrew.
Actually...
Let me ask you a question for real. What does happen when a company goes belly up mid in production? Does that kill the movie, or now does another movie company try to swoop in and pick up the bones and carcasses?
It depends on the company. It depends on who is providing the money, and it really depends on whether they think that if someone thinks the movie will be profitable, like without a doubt, somebody will pick it up. A production company will pick it up. Or if people want to get some money together and finish it on their own and then try to sell it to a production company to distribute it works many different ways. Very seldom does a movie start and not get completed unless it's more than just a company going belly up. It's like situations like we've been seeing lately. Bad shit happens.
Is that okay? But so when I watch a movie and there's like 4 different companies promoted before the movie even starts, are they all kind of splitting up the pie?
Yep.
The production and then hopefully the profits. Is that kind of what
they're
happens
all
there?
Sometimes they're all. It really depends. We never know the actual deals. It really depends. Sometimes it's literally just because the star of the movie has his own production company. And because he's in the movie, they get a credit. And, then someone looks at, they look at, let's see, who I'm trying to think of a production company of an actor. Billy Crystal has a production company called Face Productions. Every movie he's in, whether he's a creative part of it or just an actor, it says Face Productions in the beginning as one of those many companies, and that gives his company more credibility. So that's a generally new thing. If you remember, like you would, if you look at old movies, you see just like Paramount, and then the movie starts. Now it's like Paramount, then Sun Gems, then Movie Film, then this, and then that, then this, and like 20 different companies, and it's all like, because nobody wants to pay movies are so expensive nowadays. Nobody except Marvel or Disney wants to put up that kind of money. So it takes a whole bunch of companies to do that.
Well, speaking of Billy Crystal, I just want to say this. You can take your microphone. It's not funny. It's not funny. And you can bring it back to Andy.
Bring it to Howard.
Have your laugh. And you can shove it right up your ass.
It's not funny. It's not fun.
Really quick, was Canon known like in the 80s and early 90s as like that the schlocky, low-budgety sort of action? Was that Canon kind of?
Yes, they were known as.
Is that Carolco?
No, Carolco was a step up. Canon was known for churning out like 10 or 12 movies a year because they would spend so little money on it. And because they spent so little money on it, it wouldn't have to make that much to be profitable.
Did Canon do Chuck Norris Missing in Action?
Yes. So they would do all these little movies for no money that would bring in, if you spend $1 million on a movie and it brings in $4 million, that's profit.
Right.
Sure. And so they would make money on those, and they would use those for the ones that they did spend money on, like the Chuck Norris movies, like Missing in Action and its sequel. And they did, for better or worse, they did Over the Top, which a lot of people don't like. I do, but it did. It's the only one that had a really modest budget, not so modest budget. They spent money on that one, and you can tell. So yeah, Canon was about like cheapies, but there were a lot of great ones.
When I think of Canon and Carolco, I think of It's the same thing that all night.
Who's wrong, baby? Who's right?
All right.
Another fight, another slam. Oh God!
Probably my favorite Bruce album.
Tunnel of Love.
Anyway,
Tunnel of Love.
Groo, Death Warrant, genre, action, crime, mystery, thriller. It was rated R for sex, nudity, violence, gore, profanity, alcohol, drugs, smoking.
Wait, whoa. Back the truck up. I didn't see any nudity, and I wanted to see that girl. I know her, Cynthia Gibb. She was in Youngblood. Where was there?
Oh my God, I love Youngblood.
Me too.
I fucking love that movie.
Where was there new?
I got this right off of IMDb.
I know we saw her in the bra and panties, but that was about it.
Yes. A little disappointing. The bra is like my mom would wear.
Yeah.
Big fluffy tent. You know, like something sleek.
Come on, by the way,
Youngblood. Youngblood was a fucking classic.
Hard to find.
Rob Lowe hockey fighting movie.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
We love Youngblood. Yeah.
Groo, Death Warrant's runtime is 1 hour, 51 minutes. Let's take a look at the cast of Death Warrant. Andrew, of course, we have Jean-Claude Van Damme as Louis Burke, Cynthia Gibb as Amanda Beckett, Art LaFleur as Sergeant DeGraff.
Just died.
Joshua. Just call out if you want to throw out a comment here. Joshua John Miller as Douglas Tisdale, Conrad Dunn as Konecki.
Lighten up, Francis.
Love him, man. I saw that right away, and I
did you
went on the computer.
So did I. That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. I said, "Is that him?"
To confirm. I'm like, "Is that him?" Yeah. Abdul Salam El Razak as Priest, Robert Guillaume as Hawkins, Patrick Kilpatrick as Christian the Sandman Naylor, Hank Stone as Romiker, Jack Bannon as Ben Keene, and Armin Shimmerman as Dr. Gottsman. And there's a few other
Larry Hankin.
Other names. I don't have him listed here.
That's the guy who nobody knows, but everybody knows his face. That he was the guy. He was the guy in the infirmary. He was the former cellmate of.
Okay.
So he's been in a million movies. That dude.
Well, Groo, I'll throw it to you. You're a big Hollywood guy. I feel like Van Damme movie casts are unspectacular but deep. Like there's a lot of names and recognizability. What'd you think of the casting of Death Warrant?
I mean, casting. It's not like there's a difference. I don't know how to put this. It's like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is great casting. It's like that's the perfect guy to play the perfect role. Okay? This is just taking a bunch of roles and saying who are the most well-known, maybe B-list character actors we can get to sell this stuff to mainstream audiences. Basically, to surround Van Damme and sort of protect him in a way with talent. And they do that with this movie. They keep doing that more and more with each Van Damme movie. This movie almost goes over the top with it. Every single guy and woman is somebody who we've seen. He's that guy or that girl. He's from that movie. He's from this movie. Every face you see, there's some familiarity, and that's great. That's great casting too.
So, as I'm listening to you, this was a Ryan Rebalkin request. He said, "Hey, I want you guys to go back. We didn't originally have Death Warrant on the list. We went to 1991 Double Impact, so we're going back a year."
Yeah.
Does the movie feel like it's actually a year behind? Like when you look at it versus Double Impact. I mean, did Double Impact feel after you watched Death Warrant maybe a little bigger, a little more impressive?
Yes, but here it's interesting. Because you brought up Cannon before, and I was going to ask you what you thought about this. Does the beginning of this movie feel like it's from a different movie? Because
can I rip into it then?
Please, go.
I mean, I feel one of Death Warrant's big weaknesses is it takes a lot from a lot of other movies. I have notes when I'll give you my final review.
Okay.
But I mean, I can't really say specifically. I know what movies. I'll tell you specifically when I get to it. But I mean, have we not seen the opening clip where the hero runs into the bad guy early, and the bad, he either something bad happens to the hero or something bad happens
1,000 times
to the villain, and then they're going to meet 10 years later,
right,
or 5 years.
But that's kind of not what I mean. What I do agree with you 1,000%. But
I mean, if you want, I'll go right to my review.
No. I want to see if you agree with this first.
Go ahead.
It felt like in tone, in style, it felt like it was tacked on, because when it started, I felt the cheapness and like the chop-socky kind of like dubbing, and I was like, this movie's gonna fucking suck. And all right, go ahead. But I just want to say.
Go ahead. But then I'm interested in this point.
Okay, but then as soon as it said 16 months later, it seemed like, and they play that cheesy 80s music, and you see him in the suit, and he's walking around, and this is really the introduction to the character. It seemed like that's when the movie started, and it seemed like a different movie. It seemed like they spent more money. It seemed like that the beginning was just like added on, as if it was like, oh, we need some action to open this thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
Now I understand.
Okay.
I thought you meant was the movie derivative perhaps of other movies, which I still believe it is.
I do too.
What you're saying the opening segment feels like it was almost maybe a post-production, like
yes.
They added it on, and then basically when it opens up 16 or whatever years later, and he's walking with that seersucker, that brown seersucker suit. He's high-fiving, of course. I'm sorry, all the black people, because he's such a hip white Frenchman. He's like, hey, brother. Hello, brother. Hey, Susie. I didn't get that feeling. It just felt very derivative. I didn't hate it. Well, I didn't have much of a feeling. I felt like I've seen it before. I'll say that.
Yeah. But it just I had that, I got that canon, really low budget feeling from the first few minutes of the movie, but then when it switched over, it seemed like, and I felt better. So that's
I didn't tell you this. Carolco picked it up from there.
Mario Kassar and Andrew Van.
So Groo, Louis Burke of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police from Quebec.
I'm the Mountie. I always get my man.
16 months later, he joins a task force in L.A. Or California, assembled by the governor to investigate a series of murders in the Harrison State Prison in California, which is becoming a scandal threatening his reelection. Burke poses as an inmate. Attorney Amanda Beckett, Cynthia Gibb, acts as his wife. And so when I saw this, I kept on saying to myself, I guess I was really hard at first. I was like, why do these movies do this to explain like a guy in America with an accent? And I felt like even in Schwarzenegger movies, and again, I'm drawing a blank, but like these ridiculous sort of, like is a hard-boiled police task force really going to reach out to a Royal Canadian Mountie, get him to come to the States to take down this mass murderer or these murders going on in prison? I don't know.
I mean, look, it's the old, there's a thing happening and there's only one man who can stop them, and but that's, look, how many, I mean, look, the Rambo movies do it too. It's like, we got this problem in Afghanistan, let's call Rambo, I mean, and we love that shit. So, it's like, to me, it's kind of the same thing. So I don't mind that. What I do mind is that they really don't, they could do so much better. And I think they have in later Van Damme movies. He just sticks out like a sore thumb with that thick accent. Let him speak in his own fucking language. That would be so cool. Just because, or or tell us that he's from somewhere else. Don't try to sell us that he's, this North American hip dude, named Louis Burke. When he's talking like this, and he, what are you doing? It's like it doesn't mesh.
Here's what I would ask you. The movie doesn't really play it for yucks per se, but the trailer seems almost very tongue in cheeky. Do you find that with the Death Warrant trailer? Like,
not the one that I saw. Not the one that I saw. So, I saw a shorter one. It's the one that I put on the beginning of the podcast. So it looked like a straight up, prison flick, lock up ripoff, but still, a lot of fun. That's what it looked like to me.
What'd you think of Cynthia Gibb as Amanda Beckett?
Well, I was in love with her since Youngblood, and I have never forgotten her.
Okay, but what'd you think of her performance?
She was. I mean, look, she's obviously. They probably auditioned 500 people for it. What? I agree. She's vanilla. She's nothing.
A scoop of,
anybody.
Vanilla ice cream.
Yes, she brings nothing to the role other than honestly.
They've done so much better with quirky casting in earlier and later.
And honestly, is she a beautiful woman? Absolutely. In fact, absolutely. the only scenes that I buy her in, that I enjoy her in. Her acting and is the scenes with the little kid, with the code breaker. Oh, she was good in those.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off my thoughts.
Okay.
Give you at the end.
So, I agree. Thumbs down on Cynthia Gibb, which is unfortunate because I was like, when I saw her name on the thing, I was like, ooh, I haven't seen her in a long time. I missed her.
So. We get Lewis goes undercover. He goes into the state pen. He's confronted with the Sergeant DeGraff, Art LaFleur, all the cursing, a little bit of heavy racial language.
Surprising.
Which was
maybe not so surprising from that day.
I don't remember it being like that, but some of these movies really they don't hold back. Which is
because back then when we heard, maybe that's a sign of those times that at the time
I agree.
they didn't jump off the screen the way they would now to us. You know.
He befriends his cellmate Conrad Dunn, and the clerk
Francis.
Hawkins, Robert Guillaume. So I mean, here's where the movie starts to build a little bit of momentum. He meets his cellmate
Hawk.
Despite Burke saving Hawkins from a confrontation with a Mexican gang, of course, very broad, stereotypes. The Latin guys got the big bandanas and the plaids and everything like that.
And Robert Guillaume, it's almost like they're ripping off Shawshank Redemption 4 years before Shawshank even came out. It had that feel to me with the way they treated Guillaume a little bit.
I didn't see that.
He's like the guy. He's like the guy who can get you things. So maybe Shawshank ripped them off. I don't know.
I actually liked Robert Guillaume.
So did I.
I thought he did a good job.
I agree.
So obviously, Groo, he said he plays sort of like an elder statesman in the prison. He's a clerk. He has access to goods. I think he does the commissary. He's obviously older, a little bit more mature, and he has a relationship with priest Abdul Salam El Razak, who's kind of like, would you say he's, for lack of a better word, like the black leader in the prison, the priest?
Seems like it. I don't know what he's got going on there. He's got some kind of Jobu voodoo stuff that he does.
He's kind of portrayed initially as a bad guy, and you know how he's a bad guy? He wears sunglasses, has that long string earring.
Yeah.
Like every effing bad guy from the street.
He's the fake. He's actually. I actually enjoy that kind of character, the fake bad guy, the guy who's like the antagonist for most of the movie, and then he becomes an ally. It's like they call it the Iceman from Top Gun, like the Val Kilmer part. or like Dennis Franz from like Die Hard 2. Like, I love those kind of characters. So this was kind of like that.
I know. I just remember laughing. Like they gave him that long, like string earring, and I was like, "Oh, I know he's a bad guy. He's wearing an earring."
It's like when someone in WWE is turning heel when they grow a goatee. We know they're about to turn heel. That's the big
they dye
reveal.
Their hair jet black.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's see. Burke is able to track down the cellmate of the most recent victim, named Barrett, who works at the infirmary. But the cellmate also refuses to talk. In the records room, Burke finds Barrett's death certificate covered in codes. He feeds the codes to Beckett, Cynthia Gibb, and connects her with a teenage hacker, Tisdale, played by Joshua John Miller, who determines that the codes are coming from the infirmary. With help from Priest and Hawkins, Burke breaks into the infirmary and finds several boxes labeled medical waste that are actually full of human organs.
Nice.
What'd you think of the teenage hacker, little war game sort of subplot with?
These were my favorite scenes in the movie. I just love this little pervert, and he's doing everything that you and I would do. He said the best line in the movie is from one of these scenes. He says, "Shit, I'm missing Star Trek," and then he looks at her and he's like, "You want to watch Star Trek?" That was my favorite. That was my favorite line in the movie. For some reason, their chemistry, and like I said, this is the only scenes where Cynthia Gibb really is doing a good job. They have some kind of chemistry going on there. It's kind of creepy because he's like 11 years old and she's not. But his one-liners to her, he's just this little geek who's got this beautiful woman sitting in his room for the first time, getting all goo-goo-eyed over this computer shit. Oh, I love this guy. He was great. Yeah, and the kid, the actor was terrific. I'd never seen him before or since, but he was terrific. He really was.
You could do a lot worse than having Cynthia Gibb.
You're goddamn right.
In your room as a 12-year-old.
Oh shit.
Groo, a new inmate arrives, and Burke is horrified to find out that it's the Sandman, who did not die 2 years ago. The Sandman immediately recognizes Burke.
He's here!
Instead of killing Burke, the Sandman reveals to their fellow prisoners that Burke is a cop. Meanwhile, Beckett and Tisdale are able to decipher the code they find in the computer. It comprises prisoner identification numbers followed by their blood type. None of the inmates on the list have drug-related crimes. They're mostly young first-time offenders. All of the ID numbers match those prisoners who have been murdered. Beckett identifies it as a hit list and tips off Burke that he's next on the list. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is where the movie kind of has to say, all right, we've spent enough time showing everybody what it's like to be undercover in a prison, and now we have to start going somewhere. Otherwise, what are we doing here? And the creativity here leaves a little to be desired. I don't understand why they have to make it so complicated. Just give me a badass prison flick. You don't have to spend so much time and energy talking, breaking into records rooms and connecting dots.
Did you think the computer hacker kind of deal convoluted the story? I didn't mind it.
No, the computer hacker only, if only for those scenes because they were so entertaining. But what I mean is that should be the only. Those two scenes should be the only time we're trying to figure out what's going on, okay? Because we're doing it in an entertaining way, all right? We're laughing as as Tisdale is, throwing these one-liners to her while he keeps going back and telling us essentially what's going on. He's like, oh, you want to watch Star Trek? Oh, here's the code. This will get us into the prison. So enough exposition is going on in an entertaining way in that scene. We don't need to see Van Damme in the records room and them connecting the dots and them him on the phone with her telling, trying to figure out who's what. No, get the information to him and then kick some ass. We don't need
he should be just fighting for his life.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So, I didn't like the whole part with the laundry thing. He's breaking into the records room. Like we already had that stuff. We already solved the mystery. Now, let the smart people in the room solve the mystery, and then hand the evidence over to you, and you go solve the problem. That should be, we don't need, in this kind of movie, the way they've set it up, it just seemed to have a lot of stops and starts.
Well, you mentioned smart people solving it. So on the next scene, we find out what's the whole deal. Beckett attends a party hosted by the state attorney general, Tom Vogler, played by George Dickerson. Beckett believes that Beckett believes that her boss, Ben Keene, played by Jack Bannon, is responsible for the murders and prepares to tell Vogler of her theory. However, just as she's about to do so, she receives a call from young Mr. Tisdale, who tells her that her man behind the murders is in fact Vogler. Vogler pulls out a gun and reveals to Beckett that his wife needed a liver transplant. And when it turned out that even his money and influence couldn't move her up the donor list, he created a conspiracy to murder healthy prisoners for organs. Wow. After his wife's transplant, he continued the scheme for profit. He also reveals that he sent the Sandman in to assassinate Burke because Burke was too hard for the other inmates to kill. When his wife unexpectedly enters the room, Beckett escapes. So you were talking about the plot. What did you think when you get the big reveal? Not that it's over, but you get the big reveal behind the whole tension.
Reveal? We knew this was going to happen in the first scene. I mean, there's the three guys are sitting there, and they're saying the only three people who will know you're going to be in this prison are us. Which really means that as the second he gets in trouble, he's going to try to call these dudes, and no one's picking up the phone. So, of course, we know that at least one of these guys is going to be the bad guy. My question is, who gives a shit? The stuff in the prison and the Sandman stuff was entertaining enough. Why throw all these other red herrings into the thing and making it more complicated than it has to be? It's silly. It's pointless.
Why did you? It's 7:10. I haven't eaten dinner, and you mentioned herring. Now I'm starving.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm a fellow Jew.
You are. We are.
Well, Groo mentioned the stuff between obviously Burke and the Sandman, so we get the final prison fight. Burke escapes his cell. Sandman opens all the other cells to create a riot. And what a riot it was. Priest and Hawkins help him evade the guards. Hawkins is injured but saved by Priest. But Priest is then killed by the Sandman. So the Priest, has his, ultimate feel-good moment. The scene culminates in a showdown between Sandman and Burke, with the other inmates looking on. At first, Sandman gets the better of the fight, but when he opens the door to the boiler room proclaiming, "Welcome to hell," Burke turns the tables by kicking the Sandman into the flames. Great scene. And, of course, Sandman's not dead. He comes out with some very wonderful prosthetics and burn makeup. And he emerges from the boiler room grossly burned. Burke kicks him again, this time sending careening backward into a pillar in which the back of his head is impaled on a valve stem. And despite the injury, the Sandman, wow, he's a tough guy. He continues to taunt Burke. "You can't kill me, Burke. I'm the Sandman." Then he opens up a can of beer with a cane, and he goes into an ECW ring. Burke responds by twisting the Sandman's head around. The valve stem inflicts damage, and that destroys his brain, finally killing him. The inmates quietly allow Burke to leave prison, where he was reunited with Hawkins and Beckett. Now, I do want to say this. When I watched that final scene, I had like a flashback to my youth. I remember seeing this movie, and I don't know about you, I thought the final fight was like my favorite part. It was a fucking cool, final fight between Burke and the Sandman.
Yeah, you were looking at it through teenage eyes, and so was I.
I mean, definitely the makeup on the burns were a little chintzy. I did notice that. I don't know, maybe they used some egg, food coloring dye number 7 mixed in.
We were looking at it from different perspectives than we are now. I that's all I can.
I thought the final fight was.
Well, here's all right. The answer is yeah. I remember too. Here's the thing, though. Now, to me, and I'll touch on more of this in my final thoughts, but to me, the emergence of Vogler. It's Vogler who's the bad guy, right? Once we go back to those guys, and they become the true villains, and we find out that they put Sandman in there. To me, that sucks all the air out of the movie. And by then, I didn't give a shit what happened in that fight. That's the way I felt watching it this time.
So you would have preferred straight up Burke, Sandman, that rivalry.
Yes.
Don't have side players and
no reason. Yeah, we didn't need any of that. We didn't need it's enough of a thrill that this dude is still alive. I would have liked an explanation, but it's enough of a shock and enough of a thrill that this guy is still alive, and this is the problem, and that Burke is going to have to solve. And leave it at that, and make it a personal thing between them two instead of bringing in the fucking wife's kidney. You know what? Well, I mean, why?
Would you have, let's say, without giving your review, would you have preferred more fight scenes like that between Burke and Sandman interspersed throughout the movie? Would you?
No, because that's not that. No, because that's not the problem. Is not that there's not enough hardcore action. The problem is that there might even be a little bit too much. There's a great stretch in this movie where I'm really enjoying Van Damme being part of the prison, and meeting the people and being, like that right. Middle stretch there is entertaining stuff and building to what's coming and wondering how he's going to solve this whole thing. That is the strongest part of the movie to me. So it's not the amount of violence and hardcore action. It's the purpose behind it and the meaning of it. And like I said, the meaning of that last battle, he's not. I mean, technically, he's fighting the Sandman, but he's not even fighting the main villain. And yet, when he beats the Sandman, evidently he just beat the main villain, and everybody's happily ever after. Except the main villain is still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's very uneven.
Okay. Well, let's get to your final thoughts in a second, but we'd like to play the budget.
Yes.
The budget box office game. So, Andrew, I'm going to assume that you have not used what we call the World Wide Web to look up the following information. So, Andrew, 1990. What do you think the budget was for Death Warrant?
Well, I knew you were going to ask me this, so I didn't look it up, but I did start thinking about it as I was watching the movie. I haven't done that before. I anticipated this question. So, I am going to tell you what I think, but I'm going to preface it by explaining it. I can see from the beginning of this movie that it started out as a low-budget, cheapy Canon thing, but then I do think that they saw some potential and threw a little more money in it. So I think they started out probably with a budget in the $1 to $2 million area, but then they started hiring all these expensive, well-known character actors. So I'm going to say the budget was probably in the $7 to $8 million range, which would be 7 or 8 times what they expected to spend. That's my guess.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
All right, Braxton, lock him in on 7 to 8 million.
Hi, Braxton.
I have seen 2 different projections, but Andrew, you're awfully close. I have seen some at 4 million and to 6. So I've read between 4 to 6 million was the budget for Death Warrant.
All right.
So at 7 to 8 million, you are very, very close.
Okay, not bad.
Andrew, do you want to take a gander at the box office for Death Warrant? I have the gross between the U.S. and Canada, let's call it North America, and then worldwide.
I'm going to say I remember this movie being kind of popular. I'm going to say the U.S. and North America made like maybe like 20 mil, and then worldwide double that, so a total of like maybe 40 mil or 50 mil for worldwide, and like 20 something for North America, which would have been considered a success back then.
Yeah. So I have, according to IMDb, 38.6 million in the U.S. and Canada, 78.1 million worldwide.
I was way off.
You're still in the general range. Groo, do you want to take a gander at Rotten Tomatoes? What the tomato meter, critical score was?
I'm gonna guess that
there's the critical and the audience.
All right,
what do you think? Out of 0 to 100%.
Critical's gonna probably be. I gotta think that they have very few reviews of this.
Just 5.
Just 5. So I'm gonna say it's probably at like 10 to 12% positive. 0, huh? 0. Wow. A little surprising.
What do you think the audience score? Over 10,000.
Audience, I'll say I'll give it a like. Is it percentage for audience?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna go 50%.
35%.
35.
Which we know the audience score is always higher than the critical score.
Right. I'm surprised by that. I'm surprised by that 0. I'm surprised that, well, maybe out of 5, it's not so surprising. But yeah, that's interesting.
Well, critical reviews, it wasn't a lot, but I did find a couple. David Newsar of Real Film Reviews, a palpable low point within Van Damme's spotty body of work, gave it a score of 1 out of 4. Emmanuel Levy of EmmanuelLevy.com gave it 2 out of 5. Alex Sandell from Juicy Cerebellum. If you like Jean-Claude movies, this might be tolerable. If not, stay away. Stay far, far away. Gave it 0 out of 5. Caffeinated Clint from Movie Hole. What is this? Van Damme should have stuck to the martial art flicks. 2 out of 5. And Scott Weinberg from eFilmCritic.com said this one should be known as the one with Van Damme in jail. On Metacritic, Groo, the film had a weighted average score of 34 out of 100 based on non-critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. Now it's time to see just what our in-house movie critic Andrew Grothius felt about Death Warrant. Groo, what is your overall review of 1990 JCVD Death Warrant? Out of 5, how many prison fish do you give Death Warrant?
Okay, so there are two things I want to discuss real quick. Okay, I've already
yours, my friend.
I've already talked about how the middle stretch of the movie is really the only part that interests me. I hated the beginning. I enjoyed the middle stretch, and then once the reveal was made and the final thing was happening, I was done. I think this is so far Jean-Claude Van Damme's weakest performance. Wow. I was distracted by his weak acting in this movie, unlike I have been before. I think it seems like his voice was 100% dubbed by himself. I'm not disputing that, but why would they do that? They do that a lot. Like, you can see it, you can tell, like, if you really watch movies closely, you can tell when they're using the original take and when they had to dub it in. You'll hear a little bit of an echo in the, like you're talking in a room as opposed into a microphone. And it just seemed like Van Damme's acting was so wooden compared to all the pros around him. Even Cynthia Gibb, who had been around. who had acted with great actors before. Robert Guillaume, all those characters, Art LaFleur. Art LaFleur was in movies like Field of Dreams, and like he was one of the most well-recognized character actors in the world until he passed away, like I think this year. And you have all these recognizable faces, all these people, even the bad guys. I don't know any of their names, but like in real life, but I could tell that they were pros because they were acting the hell out of Van Damme. And this is the first movie where the juxtaposition really hurt the movie. The most, so with all of that put together, this unfortunately, a good idea, wasted, not well done, not well acted by its star. I got to give this one a mere 1.5. What is it? Prison Fish.
Prison Fish.
1.5 Prison Fish, just for that very entertaining middle section.
Okay.
1.5 Prison Fish. That's all I can do. Sorry, JCVD. Not this.
All right.
time.
I enjoyed your review, and I'm looking at my notes on mine, and some of the things that you said definitely resonated with me when I saw this movie. So, Andrew, I like to give everyone a 3-parter. I'm going to tell you what I liked, what I disliked, and my final review. Groo, what I liked about this movie, it's got all the trappings of the 90s prison movie. There's a hero in prison, likable inmates, down on their luck, evil prison sergeant, very deep cast with everyone doing a solid job with the material.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to Robert Guillaume as Hawkins, Abdul Salam El Razak as Priest, and I even like Patrick Kilpatrick as the Sandman. Jean-Claude is fine here, but my notes agree somewhat with Andrew. I said he's not a standout. What did I dislike about the movie? There's a lot of rough racial language, a lot of broad 90s movie racial stereotypes, and it's not really done in a fun way. Hey, you want a bad black guy? Give him a cool hat and a long earring. To me, Groo, this feels like an amalgamation of earlier Stallone prison movies, Cobra, Lockup, throw in a dash of Escape from New York, with the generic Van Damme ending that I did think was fun and violent. The problem is Stallone did it first, did it better, and did it on a bigger budget.
Mm-hmm.
Canadian Mountie Police joining an LA Police task force? How many ridiculous ways can we write in Van Damme's foreign accent in America? So for my final review, Groo, I feel like we're in Van Damme film purgatory here. It's okay, and that's all it is. It's just okay. It has some fun with those fun markings of a 90s bad prison film, all of which are fine. The actors are credible, and they do a good job with the material. As far as Jean-Claude, he neither progresses, he really doesn't fall back, in my opinion here. He just stays the same. It keeps on course, which of course is a better option than falling back, which Andrew felt he did. The movie is kitschy, and it's got some fun points. I never bought into the Canadian Mountie thing. Cynthia Gibb is cute to look at, but she does not light up the screen and has no real chemistry to speak of with JCVD. In fact, she has better chemistry with the high school computer geek played by Joshua John Miller. We've seen this ending before in most JCVD films. I'm going to give it 2 Prison Fish for me. I won't ravage it. It deserves my tepid praise as a 90s prison film, and that's all it's going to get from me. 2 Prison Fish.
Yeah, I was disappointed because I really, I was enjoying it, and then it just kind of hit a wall for me. But like you said, there are good things in there. Definitely has that 90s feel to it, and I enjoyed that part of it. You got to give props though to the writer. This was, I think, David Goyer. I think he's the writer.
But I thought you didn't like sort of.
No. This was I'm saying this was his first movie.
Okay.
He went on to, I think he did the Dark Knight trilogy, which is no small feat. So sometimes, I guess you got to start out
somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, yeah. And so you got to give a guy credit for hanging in there. And there's writing here that's good. I mean, the dialogue is not clunky. It's not bad. The actors sell it. So the writing itself is not really the problem, other than that plot contrivance that to me kills the movie. It's interesting how we're pretty much in agreement on most of these, if not all of them. So
yeah,
far.
I think this is the first time I rated a Van Damme movie perhaps higher than you. You're usually a little more forgiving, which I find a little bit funny or unique about this one. But Andrew, moving on from Prison Fish, in 1 month's time, our next Van Damme podcast, it's a big one for Jean-Claude.
Yeah.
We move to the year 1992, directed by a big name, Roland Emmerich. It's Universal Soldier. The ultimate weapons of the future have just declared war on each other. Groo, Jean-Claude, Universal Soldier. Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I remember seeing the trailer for this. This was Jean-Claude teaming up with Dolph Lundgren, and it was supposed to be a big deal. And I remember being really excited about it.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting for me to say that I'm looking forward to seeing it because I've actually never seen it. So
yeah, for
I'm
me,
looking
this
forward
is
to
where
it.
Jean-Claude really came onto the. I mean, I obviously saw some of those early, but I think this is where, like, I remember excitingly going to the theater to see Jean-Claude movies. Like Universal Soldier probably kicked it off for me, where I was like, oh, I'm excited to see a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
But for whatever reason, I skipped this one, so I'm looking forward to it. And I know there was a sequel, at least one, I think with both Lundgren and Van Damme, but I'm looking forward to seeing this for the very first time. And that's going to be next time on Van Damme, right?
That's next time.
Yeah.
Next week we'll return back to the mothership. It's Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Groo. Andrew, I don't know. We're going with No More Piano, Heavy into Drugs. Elton John, the other piano player.
Yes.
It's the fall and rise of Elton John. We're going to look at Elton, the late 80s to 90s, Sleeping with the Past, all the way to Made in England. I don't know if I'm promoting it correctly, but the fall and rise of Elton John, late 80s to 90s. It's the other piano player that we certainly love. Groo, any thoughts on Elton John?
Yeah, well, I'm excited for this. I mean, this is, I think this is the one. You know, we've done Bon Jovi, we've done Bruce Springsteen, we've hit most of our favorites. We've done Billy Joel a couple times. I don't think we've ever done anything having to do with Elton John. So this will be a lot of fun to get, I'm sure we'll branch out into certain other parts of Elton John's career. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts, to remember some Elton John experiences, concert experiences that we've shared together. So there's definitely some history there. And, that's going to be a lot of fun. That's a great period to look at in Elton John's career. It's a very, very strange period. And that's saying something when you're talking about Elton John. So this is going to be a fun one. Yeah, they're all fun, but they're all fun in different ways, and this is going to be a very, very fun time.
All right. So as we close it out, remember we're going to close out with our phrase: "No retreat, no surrender." Remember that?
Yes,
last time we
I remember that.
And then please make sure you share this on all of our Facebook, our Nothing Worthwhile page. Make sure you share it with everybody. This was a good one. I enjoyed Death Warrant.
Yes,
enjoyed seeing you.
Always enjoy talking about these things that are absolutely nothing worthwhile, except to us and those like us.
That is correct. It's glad to be uploading a new one to the last of the Action Hero Podcast Network. Andrew, it's Wednesday night. We got to work tomorrow. Why don't you take us out of here?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on Van Dammit, the son of Nothing Worthwhile, the bastard son of Nothing Worthwhile, We talked about Death Warrant this week. Next time on Van Dammit, we will be talking. What did we say we were doing?
Universal Soldier.
Universal Soldier. JCVD teams up with the great Dolph Lundgren for the 1990 whatever hit. Or was it a hit?
92.
We'll find out. We'll find out. But next week on Nothing Worthwhile, we're talking about the great Elton John, the Rocket Man himself. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, no retreat.
No surrender! Knock Sucal, everybody.